Assalamualaikum and good day. I am Tasnim Lokman and you are joining us on Fireside Chat with Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
GE15 is upon us and you will officially be contesting for the Langkawi seat. And you have even mentioned about being the third Prime Minister. Your third time as Prime Minister and the 10th Prime Minister in Malaysia. So, what do you have to offer the people of Langkawi and the Malaysians this time around?
Firstly, I'm not aiming to become the Prime Minister.
Okay.
Because the Prime Minister will be chosen only if GTA wins the election and is in a position to form the government.
Okay.
At that stage, we will decide who will become the Prime Minister. Langkawi is, as you know, a tourist island. Unfortunately, there are many things that obstruct visitors to go to Langkawi, among which, of course, is the fact that the sea near Perlis is very shallow and ferry boats cannot come in. So in one day, the ferry boat can only come in at the most 4 times.
Oh, okay.
But they want to have more visitors, and we are losing visitors because of that. There are also this decision made by the government that cigarette, for example, is taxed. Before it was not taxed. And there are many facilities that needs to be upgraded. So there are a lot of things that has to be done to Langkawi to make it even more attractive.
Your plans is to make it more attractive?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You turned 97 in July. That is a major milestone for anybody in the world. So what is your motivation and push when it comes to politics today?
It's very simple. I love my country. I want my country to be standing at par with all the developed countries. I want people to respect Malaysia. And I think Malaysians have got tremendous potential. We can become a developed country if we do the right things.
Okay.
So this is what moves me to still continue to be involved in politics.
Okay. And you have your absolute family's blessing to continue?
Well, I hope so.
Okay, all right. I mean, they are the support you need, right, to go on, right? You mentioned that the idea behind GTA, Gabungan Tanah Air, is to protect, advance, and develop the Malays. It will go back to UMNO's original initial struggle. Is that correct? You've mentioned this before, kan?
The GTA is a new concept.
Okay.
We want people who are voiceless, who are not in the mainstream of politics, to also have a say. Although they cannot participate in politics, but they can influence the government that is chosen. And if they want to, as individuals, they can join GTA.
Okay.
So that is a new concept where not only political parties, but even NGOs, individuals and all that, who in the past, individuals, for example, they have to contest as independents. And as independents, they are totally ineffective. But if they want to have a say in the government, instead of being independent, they could join up with GTA, and they can then gain the support of GTA in the contest.
Would you, when they join GTA, or right now you would have to use Pejuang's logo, right, because of the ROS approval. Will they be subjected to being politicized and also have a political stand when they join GTA?
No, they're still fighting for their own objectives in the NGO. So when they are with the party that may form the government, then they will have the voice of the government.
Okay.
So they can promote their own objectives through the government because they are actually members of the government.
Okay, so what would be the long-term plans for GTA and Pejuang?
We want to see this country show respect for the views of all the people, not just of politicians, but also everyone should have a say in the affairs of the country.
You've stated that everyone under GTA will be contesting under Pejuang's logo, right?
Yeah.
Under Pejuang's. So how would you like to tell the people that don't, understand that it's GTA, not Pejuang? How would you tell the voters this?
Well, we have been explaining the reason why we have to use Pejuang logo, symbol, and flag, because the government has not registered our GTA.
Okay.
So whether we like it or not, we cannot use GTA. But then the concept of GTA is accepted by many bodies, including some NGOs also. So by using using Pejuang, very much like in the last election, we had to use PKR,
Yes.
and we still won. So this time around, we are going to use Pejuang, and we hope that people will understand when they vote for Pejuang, they are in fact voting for GTA.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the younger generation, the Gen Zs? People usually call them Gen Zs. So with this current political climate, not just in Malaysia, but internationally, globally, everywhere is having some sort of an issue. And also with the economic conditions, what we might expect next year, and as well as climate change, the biggest topic around the world, what do you foresee for the younger generations?
The younger generation will inherit the country from the older generation. The older generation will have to retire, or they may pass away, and the younger generation would like to inherit a great country. So for them, I think they have to decide to choose a government in this 15th election, choose a government that will leave behind a country that is ready for them to benefit.
Okay. Do we see this right now?
No, at the moment, no. At the moment, the country is in a state of turmoil, instability, poor and very badly managed. So, if they don't, they are not careful, of course, the young people will inherit all these negative aspects, and they will suffer a lot.
Only 18 and automatic voters registration haven't passed and will happen during GE15. What do you think? Do you think this will impact the outcome and also the political landscape?
Well, in the election, of course, even one vote, one chair majority will give you the victory.
Yes.
So the automatic voters know that they have power.
Yes.
And they must use their power to vote wisely.
Okay.
What do they want? Do they want this country to be governed by people who are being charged with crimes, and some of them are already in jail? Or do they want a country to be run by a government that is free from crimes, that has not abused their power?
Yeah.
So it's up to them to choose. Of course, if they choose wrongly, they will have to pay a high price.
And what do you think, when you're talking about the court crimes and clusters, what do you think of UMNO and Barisan Nasional's actions and behaviours towards the caretaker Prime Minister, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri, when they basically forced him to dissolve the government?
Yeah.
The parliament, sorry, the parliament.
It looks as if of course, the explanation given is because of the 12 ministers who wrote a letter to the king, asking the king not to dissolve parliament.
Yes.
But actually what happens is that very soon Zahid, as the president of UMNO, will be sentenced for whatever wrong he may have done. So he wants to do things before that, before the court decides. And so they have to have the election earlier because they hope that during the election they can win big, and with that they can drop all the charges against Zahid and even lead to the pardoning of Najib, and all the charges still against him being tried now, these charges will be dropped. And also for other leaders of BN and UMNO who have committed wrongdoings, and they face the prospect of being charged in court and may be found guilty.
Yes. You were the UMNO president for the longest time previously. How do you feel when you see these political leaders, our so-called leaders, being charged with such crimes, possibly being charged more after the GE, if they do get charged? How do you feel when you see that's how UMNO has become today?
Well, the leaders of UMNO after me,
yes,
they know very well that they are not above the law.
Okay.
If they do something that is wrong, eventually the law will catch up with them. They believe that when they are in power, they can postpone or avoid being charged in court. But, and because of this, they believe that by using a lot of money, stolen money, they can ensure that they will win all the time. So if they win all the time, then they will not be faced with charges in court. But their belief was wrong, that although they claim that cash is king, lots of other people who do not think so, so much so that in the 14th election, actually they lost. And when they lost, of course, they don't have the authority or the power to stop criminal proceedings against them.
Yes.
And see, before that, they even changed the AG so as to appoint an AG who will say that they have done no wrong. And indeed, that AG, Apandi, when he was when he replaced Gani Patel, he, without due diligence, without proper investigation, decided that Najib is not guilty. They thought that, well, that will end all action against Najib because he was going to win the next election and will still be the Prime Minister. But it was unfortunate for him that he lost the election, and a new AG had to be appointed because obviously Apandi was covering up for the government. And sure enough, when the new AG comes in, he discovered that there were cases against Najib, and as it is his duty to then refer it to the courts. Now, the courts then tried Najib, and it is interesting to find that 3 courts plus 9 judges concluded that he was guilty. Which means that, of course, Apandi, when he said that Najib was not guilty, was in fact wrong and guilty of covering up.
And do you think Apandi should be brought to justice as well for giving such
Well, there were
unsmart
many
statements?
reports against him for his finding. Unfortunately, although the reports were made, and even his case against Kit Siang was brought to the court, and the judge condemned him Yet, after the reports to the police about his wrongdoing, no action was taken.
We are probably going to face a prolonged state of political elections because the states, 6 states have decided not to dissolve it concurrently and hold G15 simultaneously. So what is your take when 6 separate states have to carry out 6 separate elections next year?
Well, if that is their choice, it is totally compatible with democracy.
Okay.
That is their right, and if they decide not to have the election, that is their right also, not to dissolve.
Okay.
The election is determined by the election commission, but the state government has to be dissolved first before there can be an election. So if they decide not to dissolve their state government, that is their right.
You are a seasoned politician, definitely. Is Pakatan Harapan a weak opposition, or do you think that they are able and they have a chance to beat in G15?
The Pakatan Harapan of 2018 is different from the present one.
Okay.
In 2018, during the last 14th election, there were 4 parties.
Okay.
And one of the party was Bersatu, which for the first time brought Malays into Pakatan Harapan in order to defeat Najib.
Okay.
But now Bersatu has left Pakatan Harapan. So Pakatan Harapan is now left with only 3 parties. And these parties have not got the support of the Malays from Bersatu. At the same time, we find that Keadilan, for example, has lost quite a considerable number of members because Azmin left the party in order to join with Muhyiddin. So the Pakatan Harapan of today is weaker than the Pakatan Harapan of 2018.
Okay.
So their chances are, I think, is affected by this loss of support, especially of the Malays.
Okay.
Because we know that, for example, that DAP in the past, without Malay support, could only win about 18 to 20 seats. But when Bersatu joined PH, DAP had 40 victories.
Do you think people are still, when we're talking about Azmin Ali and Muhyiddin, do you think people are still upset over the Sheraton move?
Well, many people are very upset because the Sheraton move is, in effect, it is to negate the will of the people. The people had already chosen their government, but the Sheraton move disregard the wishes of the people, and through hopping of members from the government party to the opposition, they were able to install a government which is against the wishes of the people. In a way, it is not democratic, but there is no legal obstruction to that.
Okay. Do you think this sense of animosity towards the Sheraton move punya event would also impact G15 votes?
Well, I think it should, but you know, people are very forgetful.
Yeah, your famous quote, right? You have repeatedly mentioned about communicating and meeting Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim from PH. Do you have the sense of, do you feel there is a need to unite all the oppositions to beat BN, to make sure BN and UMNO doesn't come back to power after this?
Yeah. Well, there are certain problems in the way.
Okay.
For example, if you unite all the opposition, that means that DAP will be a member of the coalition. And the Malays, when they see the DAP, they will not support the coalition.
DAP getting the Malay votes for G15?
For G15, the DAP will lose a lot of Malay votes.
Okay. Even though
although they are now putting up Malay candidates.
Yes, yes. You don't think so? You don't think that's a good winning strategy for the AP?
It may convince a few people,
Okay.
but not significantly.
Okay, all right. Even with Lim Kit Siang saying that he is retiring from politics.
Who?
Lim Kit Siang.
Yeah, he's retiring, but he casts a long shadow over the AP.
Okay, all right. So since we're talking about the AP, religion and race have always been intertwined in Malaysia when it comes to politics. Do you think all this, fighting for the religion, fighting for the race, is genuine, or is it just for show?
When we go back and what happened and see what happened before when we were fighting against the Malay Union,
Yes.
Religion did not play a part.
Okay.
Only the sense of loss by the Malays if Malay Union was formed. So everybody united, including all the religious people, the English educated people, the Malay educated people, all came together. And then because of certain disappointment on the part of the ulama in UMNO, they decided that they were not well treated, that they were not named as members of parliament or legislative council. So because of that, they broke away and they made use, for the first time, made use of religion to divide the Malays. And they came to the level of accusing people who are not with them as not being Muslim. You see, so since then, religion has become a part of the political issues during all elections in Malaysia.
Yeah. And do you think we will somehow one day arrive to a point where religion will not be utilized in politics?
Here, I think the NEP also did not achieve the objective.
Okay.
You see, one of the things that divide us is the economic wealth of the different communities.
Yes.
We see the Chinese being very good in business, doing very well and are very rich, but the Malays are not interested in business, not skilled in business, and they did not become richer after independence. Relatively speaking, of course, some of them have become richer, but the Chinese are. And this disparity in terms of wealth is a very divisive factor.
Okay.
Because of the disparity, the different races cannot come together.
Okay, so this is the last question. What's your prediction for G15?
Well, I should hope that GTA will win or Pejuang would win, because we want to see good governance. And Pejuang at this moment have got no leaders who are criminals, who are being charged in court. And many of them have had good experience in administration. So they would be able to provide good governance for the country because of their experience. On the other hand, of course, UMNO is led by people with criminal records, and the opposition, the PH, of course, is not the strong PH of 2018. It is a weaker PH.
If you don't mind, maybe you could tell the people, the voters, to come out, why they need to come out to vote for on the 19th of November, before we end.
It is very important that everybody comes out to vote, and to vote not because of their being bribed, but to vote for good governance. And see, if they don't vote, then the party that bribes people will win, because they will bribe people to come out to vote, and therefore they will get the most number of votes. Whereas the other people who are not coming out to vote, they will effectively they would be voting for the cash is king people,
Yes.
the corrupt people.
Thank you so much, Tun, for this enlightening session. So thank you everyone for joining us today during this interview. Please do follow do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Sinar Daily on YouTube. And thank you very much.